So my mom, she every email she writes is in all caps. You guys have one of those moms? So every message I get from her, like even a standard greeting, can come off like a threat. Or like just she'll send me, please send thank you to the neighbors. But the all caps subtext is, it's probably your last chance because the world is ending. I don't know. I always had this like apocalyptic urgency to it. But for a while I was in Asia, and that was kind of the only way that we had to talk to each other. So I just kept thinking there was a lot of emergencies. But everything was mostly okay. And that, yeah, so that basically that was our option at the time when I was in a few different countries. And in this story, the country I was in was Vietnam, and I was in a cheap hotel room, just searching for the best weapon to use against a flying cockroach. Because it scared me, and I didn't understand it or its way of life. Just really freaked me out when it went from like the window to the wall, over the mini fridge, and just kind of very judgmentally flew over my pile of empty wine bottles. Just freaked out, so I jumped onto the bed, like half outside myself, like just watching this very tired tableau of a woman startled by something a lot smaller than her. And then I got some nerve, and then I stepped off of the bed and I grabbed the complimentary can of Raid that the hotel left on the mini fridge. And I doused him in allegedly lavender-scented insecticide. And then I ran out of the room, and as I was shutting the bedroom door, I saw his body weighed down by the poison, and he fell from the wall to the floor. I shut the door, and I collected myself in the hallway. And then I opened the door just in time to see him crawl his heavy body across the floor and through this very narrow crack between the heavy solid wood bed frame and the tile floor. And I couldn't move the bed. It was very heavy. That was totally impossible. So what I did to secure the area, which was to just kind of spray poison everywhere around the entire periphery of my bed, and then on the wall, between the wall and the mattress, just anywhere where I could get some poison, I put it there. And then I just resumed the activity that I had been doing earlier, which was, so I grabbed my beer mug full of $3 Vietnamese wine, and I kept drinking thoughtfully, mildly concerned that I'd contaminated my wine. Just the flavor profile of $3 wine and poison. It's pretty similar. I'm not a snot. I drank it anyway. And I'm not proud. I'm not proud of the way that this went down. Obviously, I wish I was a little more heroic. But all that really matters was that he was dead. Probably. It's over. It's over now. I think. As far as I can tell, I look around there's no problem. There's no more threat. Except for that sliver of doubt. One of those slivers of doubt. It's like a narrow crack, the kind of narrow crack that only a vengeful cockroach is designed to slip through. He's obviously a very clever cockroach. Well-versed in the art of psychological warfare. This is probably the last little bit of energy that he had left. He went under a bed where I couldn't see him, tipping me into the darkness, the discomfort of the unknown. Using my own size against me, my size, that used to be what I had going for me, and now it's a liability because I can't fit under there and I don't know, I'm not gonna know. If I successfully defeated my enemy, or if he's just waiting there, just waiting for me to let my guard down and come back out. And it's amazing. This is what it's amazing, is how little it takes. It takes so little. It takes only putting wings on a bug that I've seen a million times before to turn me into some bloodthirsty psychopath. It just cannot be satisfied unless I see a corpse at my feet. So it was a stressful day. It was stressful. But I think it was stressful for a few reasons. We were anticipating, it wasn't just the day that I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself anymore. It was also this day that we had been anticipating, sort of, my family and I. I was in Vietnam, but they weren't. They were all in Albany, New York, at my brother's prison sentencing, and so I was just, obviously I wasn't just murdering bugs that day. I was and reenacting scenes from Apocalypse Now. I was waiting for an email from the past, from 12 hours in the past, to tell me how many years my brother was going to be in prison for. A few weeks earlier, I'd been in Japan, and most of what I did in Japan was to just drag my host friends around with me to different shrines, and I made a bunch of wishes and wrote prayers on little pieces of paper. I did all that stuff, cleansed my hands in the fountain, and I tossed the 5 and 50 yen coins into these vast sacred spaces. Just what you're supposed to do. I wasn't littering coins. It just, they're just very actively participating in the tourist industry. And each time I did this so many times, so I was refining and perfecting this wish every time. I should say this: I didn't go to Asia with the express intention of making wishes. I think that'd be a very uncomfortable story to tell all of you. But I got there, I went to go visit a friend, and I got there, and then there was just all these wishes on the table. So I grabbed them up, everyone I could. Every wish I could make, because it was a good theme, a good way to go around and see different parts of Tokyo, because there are these beautiful shrines. But it's also, I felt powerless. Like there wasn't really much I could do for my brother at this point. It had been a year since he was arrested. I had visited him a couple times, and I supported him. I tried to send him letters and stuff. I wrote a letter. I wrote a character reference to his sentencing judge, in which I crafted like a very thoughtful, very meticulous narrative of his finding Jesus, which was a lie that I made up. It was a very educated lie, though. It was a researched lie. I went onto the internet and I found out the religious demographics of that area. That's where that lie came from. And as it turns out, that lie, that story about my brother miraculously becoming a Christian, that was easier to put together than the wish. Because the wish, actually, it was very complicated. It was entangled in 15 years of addiction and police and overdoses and violence and just lying. So what do you, I don't know, it's not immediately apparent what what do I wish for when my brother's pleading guilty to a massive drug charge in the country known for its stunning incarceration rate. I could make the practical wish. The wish that good, hardworking, honest people make, which would be that he would get the low end of the sentence. In this case, it would be between 14 and 17 years. But for me, that just seemed that's such a narrow range. It's just 3 years, just kind of a waste of magic. I didn't know. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is to just go full miracle. Just wish that America suddenly reconsiders its frantic, racist agenda that it refers to as the war on drugs. I don't know if there's any, I don't know how much magic, I don't know, it would take a lot of magic, I think, that one. So, luckily for me, by the time that I was leaving for Vietnam, I'd been in Japan for a few weeks, and I'd been to a bunch of shrines, and I'd gotten to make a bunch of wishes, and each time I was editing it and making it more perfect until I was really satisfied that I had made this was just the most efficient, productive wish that I could make, and it was this, and the wish was that it would just be over, and that my brother would find peace with whatever it was that haunted him, and that my family could just and he could be released from this kind of torture, this ongoing torture. It's just to make room for some fresh new torture. Just obviously, I would never ask for a life without suffering, because I think that's kind of the deal, is the suffering part, especially, if you travel through Buddhist countries, that's, you're just gonna run into a plaque that tells you that, but. The suffering, we just needed a new suffering. We're just tired of this specific, just a different flavor. And obviously, no one wants their loved one to go to prison, because it's a very flawed system of correction. It doesn't actually really help anything. But I can't imagine that mine is the only family that has is just so exhausted by the cycle and the momentum of addiction to at least see or feel some relief in the stillness that comes from tragedy. My dad says it like this. He's a rural Albertan civil servant, so he says things different than I do. And he just says about my brother after he got arrested, my dad says, I just like knowing where he is. Which of course is just, it's exactly how I felt about that vindictive cockroach. Because when I saw this creature, obviously, I was scared. But when I couldn't see him anymore, I was terrorized. And I was also drunk and irrational. And I was kind of scanning the situation for symbolism, and I was just kind of passing out thinking Amy, this cockroach could mean something. Just have to figure it out, and then I just became unconscious. Then I woke up. In the morning, I was in my street clothes. I was on top of the cover. I didn't think I used the covers the whole time I was in Vietnam, but I just kind of had passed out in all my clothes, and I had that tight feeling on my face and my mouth. It tasted like lavender-scented bug spray. And then I grabbed my phone, and it had just 2% of its battery left, and I used that to open an email from my mom, and they always come from my mom because my dad refuses to use his work email to address my brother. They're very secretive, my family. So right before my phone dies, I use that last bit of energy to read my mom's email, which is obviously in all caps. Which, at this point, I'm dead into their effect of the all caps. They don't really get to me anymore. But she gives me the news, and it's not good news or bad news. It's just absolutely after a year, and we're very informed and we're very involved in this process. So after a year of this, we just utterly expect it. And then, but the whole point, I guess, of this day was just having a number, some finite, measurable volume of life, and there it was, and then now we know. And then my phone died because technology can just be so dramatic. Of course. So I just plugged it. I plugged it in, and I was like, "iPhone, don't worry, it's gonna be okay." And then I went to the bathroom to wash some of the purple out of my mouth, and then I saw the cockroach in the bathroom. He was on the floor underneath the shower head, belly up. He's pretty dead, which is perfect. Not that I knew why it was perfect. Not that I even know why now. It just, it feels perfect. And I didn't want to move him. I refused to move him because I get attached so easily. And because it was a comfort. It was a comfort to see him every time I went to the washroom, which, since I had gotten to Vietnam, was 2 to 3 times more often than usual. I'm very sensitive. And I tried really hard to not be reactive and to not be upset when the cleaning lady eventually came and removed him. Obviously just thinking, what would she want with a horrible insect carcass? This is disgusting. I'm doing this person a favor, and I can't blame. I mean, she could have asked me, but then even if she did, I wouldn't have known the answer. Anyway, thanks so much.
Amy Cunningham.